Welcome back, Shalligators, and welcome Britney Spears people who came here to trash me. Good luck rubbing those brain cells together. You're gonna burn through a whole week's supply of vocabulary and bandwidth coming here to shred me, okay? So, good luck. We're gonna talk today about Britney's latest meltdown and what we can learn from it, because I asked you guys on Instagram, what do we say here? What do we say? And one of you had a really great idea. Savior complexes. How do we stop trying to save people who don't want to be saved? And I've done a lot of videos on what to do with like a broken person in your life. A friend who needs help, a guy you can't fix. We talked about the broken person and a friend who needs help in terms of Britney in the past, and how to fix a guy in terms of Justin Bieber and Hailey Baldwin. So type their names into my channel and you'll see that's pretty much all we talk about with those two. And like codependence and the parent-child dynamic, how fun and sexy. But with Britney, I think that, yeah, this is like an aspect of this we haven't explored. How for yourself can you clip that urge to save people, especially the people who are doing just fine, according to them. They aren't asking for your help. And it is the most frustrating thing when you pull up for your friend who's an addict or chronically torpedoing their relationships through like certain behaviors that you can see so clearly, or anything in between, mental health, you name it. And somehow you become the bad guy? They lash out at you? You're vilified by everyone else because leave her alone, or because you're somehow unempathetic, when actually what you're trying to do is fix a problem. Not sit there and just pat someone on the head over and over again, but really get this person that you care about into a better place. And all you get for your trouble is trashed. How can we avoid this? Is there a way to fix that? Is there a right way to go about it? We're gonna talk about that a little bit, but mostly I'm gonna tell you how to just fucking stop doing this, because we waste so much of our lives trying to fix and help people who don't care or want it. Okay, cool. But first I wanna give a quick shout out to a girl who is indispensable to my career and what I do here. She is my brand strategist, Wilda. She is the brand whisperer with underscores between the words on Instagram. Listen, if you hate your job, and you wanna like get out of your rut and become a content creator, become an influencer or YouTuber, but you're like, I just don't know where to start. I don't know what my voice is. I don't know what my vibe is. I don't even know which platform to focus on. Wilda will get you. She is really good at looking not only at the entirety of your brand, but coming up with actual day-to-day tasks for you. Or if you're already a content creator, she is amazing at analytics. She looks at things like an absolute scientist. Give Wilda a follow, DM her, and you guys can talk about a strategic plan. Also, do you guys like my dress? It's XO Style Box. It is my clothing rental subscription service. Listen, it's spring, you wanna refresh your wardrobe, you don't wanna spend $1 billion or be committed to styles that you're like, ugh, I'm actually not in my dark femme era, or I'm not in my soft girl era anymore. Like I wanna change it up, but I don't wanna like buy all these new things. You don't have to. Rent, return, repeat. You can have a bunch of items rotating through your closet. You don't have to send everything back all at once. And what I like about it is you get insane discounts if you want to buy something. This dress is by Lush. It's about $180 retail. I decided to keep it from my rotation because I loved it, and I bought it for $12. $12. You go to the mall and try to go shopping, you're spending that at motherfucking Cinnabon, okay? You and I know this. So get some cool garments. Click the link down below and you get your first month free. Britney. Also, is my face the same color? Does my face match my... I feel like it doesn't, right? Well, I'm not stopping. Okay, I'm not... We're not starting over. I'm not... So we're just... I literally had a hoodie on when I did my makeup with this new foundation. Okay. What is it about the lighting at Sephora that just lies? Like inside a regular light bulb, it's like filaments and wires, and inside a Sephora light bulb, it's a lie. There's just a lie. There's a liar in there being like, of course that matches, bitch. Doesn't. Okay, Britney. So if you haven't heard, Britney had another meltdown, and I said on Instagram, you know, the headlines were sparks fears for her mental health. Sparks? That implies the first time. That implies fears for her mental health are not a raging wildfire that has been blazing for, I don't know, 15 or 20 years? Sparks. Okay. We also know that Britney recently fully came out of her conservatorship. She's in the wind. So that's a concern. But this thing at the Chateau Marmont, the emergency services were called, an ambulance was called, and because two different reports, okay? There is the report, the sources report, and then what Britney says. So she was there with her boyfriend, Paul Richard Solis. Okay, if you're from Southern California, you know exactly this guy. You know this guy. Vato, he's a vato. That's what they call themselves, okay? I'm a vato, she's machola. I'm not being racist. This is a whole vibe of people, like a Harajuku girl. Like a Harajuku girl in Japan. Like, this is an aesthetic, it's a vibe, okay? And he was apparently her maintenance man. Honestly, he must be a badass maintenance man, because to get in those celebrity circles and be hooked up in that circuit and to work on an estate of her size, I mean, yeah, he must really know how to get hair out of a drain. I don't mean no shade by that. I can't do any of that shit. So at least he's a useful man, whereas Sam Asghari, Mr. Facial Hair, I don't know what that man brought to the table except being gorgeous. And he did seem to be a stabilizing influence on Britney. Holmes over here, I don't think so. Why is that Carhartt not buttoned all the way up? That Dickies shirt not buttoned all the way up? Where's the hairnet? Paul, where's the hairnet? You know what I mean. Where's your girl? Did you make Britney line her lips in ultra dark, Wet n Wild, like brown liner, and then just like barely fill it in, and like meth eyebrows, like sperm, just like, and like crunchy, wet looking hair? Has she been trying that style on? I haven't seen it. You're not doing your job, Paul. That's your woman. Make her look like what you like, okay? So apparently, sources say they got in a fight. Could have predicted that. So she claimed she got the injury goofing around in the living room of her hotel at the Chateau Marmont, okay? So bad. I really twisted my ankle last night like an idiot just to show proof, she said in a video on Instagram. And her ankle is like the ankle of like that's a piglet's ankle. Like her ankle is fucked up. I mean, yeah, she twisted her ankle. She said she tried to do a leap in the living room of the chateau and I fell, embarrassed myself, and that's it. She said the paramedics were called immediately and caused a huge scene, even though all I needed was ice. It's actually pretty bad, but shit happens. Then. In the caption though, I know my mom was involved. Space, 3 exclamation points. I haven't talked to her in 6 months and she called right after it happened before the news being out. Space, 3 exclamation points. I was set up, just like she did way back when. Space, 3 exclamation points. I wish I had grandparents. Space, 3 exclamation points. I can't stand her. Space, 3 exclamation points. I honestly don't care. I will say it. Thumbs up, shrug emoji. 3 exclamation points. And there was a space. There was a space. I'm sorry. I also didn't see the previous post that she wrote. You know, when someone posts this to their grid, they're down bad. Just let people know. Space, ... space. The news is fake. Space, 3 exclamation points. I can't, why? Why the space? Why 3 exclamation? It is more work to put the space there. It's more work. You know how grammar, why? You know what the grammar does to me. I won't call it out anymore. I would like respect at this time for people to understand I am getting stronger every day. That sentence was all over the place. Truth sucks, so can someone teach me how to lie? Space, 3 question marks. Goddesses out there, I'm reaching my higher power, and furthermore, I hope you guys are too. I need a new toothbrush right now. And then like 5 emojis, a monkey, a champagne. P.S. I need an espresso. 5 tulip emojis. I'm sorry, 6. P.S.S. It's actually PPS. PS stands for postscript. So if you do 2 PSs, it's postscript. So it's PPS, not PSS. Not sure why I feel I need to share this. I guess I'm just a girl and I'm on my period, so I'm bitchy. Shit, with the poop emoji. Space 3. I also twisted my ankle last night and paramedics showed up at my door illegally. They never came in my room, but I felt completely harassed. I'm moving to Boston. Space 3 exclamation points. Peace. She's fine. She's fine, guys. She's fine, guys. She's fine, right? So if she is lucid enough to write these books and it's all true, Why is it she can never take any responsibility for herself? Well, because she's mentally ill. Oh, no. That's not true. You cannot have it both ways. Either she is a cognitive, put together adult who does not need a conservatorship. How dare you even suggest that? Or that's not the case. And a lot of people are like, well, she needs some kind of help. She doesn't need that draconian conservatorship. I agree with you, but that is actually not the argument from her fans. So I'm sorry, I just get a little bit confused. Am I dealing with a mentally ill woman, or am I dealing with a woman who has all of her faculties about her and everything she says is true? I think this is just confusing for me. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to look at her as a mentally ill, broken bird, or as like a woman who deserves all the freedom in the world. And we're all like, fuck you if you say she needs some oversight here, and maybe ending that conservatorship is like the beginning of the end for her. So I don't know what to do with Britney. And herein lies our main topic. How do you help a friend who's in trouble? Like I said, we've covered that topic. How about this topic? Why you don't have to. This is a bold take in this day and age. Because for a few reasons. Number one, I think we are encouraged to be empathetic. Choose kindness, right? Like we hear that all the time. It's on every fucking wooden sign in Home Goods you can possibly imagine. I get it. It's not a bad message. It's not a bad message, but it can be a slippery slope. It can be one of those things that quickly mushrooms out of control because predatory people will push you to let it get out of control. We've talked a lot about sociopaths or manipulative people, and studies have shown that the number one thing a sociopath wants is pity. Very often, not all of them, but a lot of them, pity. How many people are running charity scams or like stolen valor? They're pretending to be a soldier so that people, wow, thank you for your service. That's a form, I wouldn't say of pity, but indebtedness, right? And pity, kind of the same thing. So when we, especially as women, are encouraged to choose kindness, predatory people are like, got him. People will ride that till the wheels fall off. And very often, as we, as helpers and lovers and friends and daughters have experienced, the wheels do fall off. And as I said in the beginning, it is galling, like down to my very DNA, when I try to help someone who turns around and resents me for it. I've been dealing with this recently with a friend who has devolved into, honestly, I don't even know what particular species of addiction. Pills, booze, food, depression, I don't know. It's just this horrible cornucopia of nasty little buggers. And if you can't say shit to her. You can't say anything to her. Like, hey, do you remember yesterday? No, I know that you don't. I know you don't. Because you were a nightmare to everybody else, and you were blacked. The curtains were down. There was nobody home. Watch out. Watch out. If you suggest, hey, instead of drinking, why don't we go for a walk? Maybe eat something healthy, productive. You know what? Stop rubbing it in that you're thinner than me. It's that. And you're like, okay. Or maybe you've tried to help someone and you realize they actually enjoy their victim narrative. And without it, they don't know who they are. They're the consummate martyr. They're the sister or the sister-in-law who's like the burnt toast mom, who's like, I'll eat the burnt toast. Because no one cares about me. I'll get up and do the dishes. No one helps me. Well, you want to do the dishes at 4:30 in the morning for absolutely no reason, just so you can be the martyr. Be like, well, nobody was awake. What do you do? What do you do? Listen, even as I bring up these examples, do you know how bad I want to chase the dragon and be like, well, here's what you can do and here's what you can say? That's exactly the problem, is we get drawn into these sagas. Why? You have heard me talk, going on 4 years now, about my ex Tom. Yeah, an addict, multiple rehab stints, just just all of the bullshit. And I have tried to help him. I've tried to lead by example. I've tried tough love. I've tried boundaries. I have tried shaming him. Like, I have anxiety. I said, you should have anxiety. Look how you behave. You feeling anxious at a party is appropriate given how ridiculous you are to be around. You just asked that man if his girlfriend was actually a dude with a penis. And now you're like, I don't feel comfortable here. You shouldn't. He's going to break your fucking legs in the parking lot. Tried all these things. I've tried all these things. And he knows that everything I try comes because I love him, because I tell him that. And he's like, I know that. How many times do you think he has told me, thank you? I understand how much you care about me. Thank you. I know you're trying to help me. Thank you. Or, I'm sorry for the years of your life that I've taken. I'm sorry for all of the advice that people literally pay for that I have squandered. I'm sorry, Shallon. Do you know how many times I've heard I'm sorry or thank you? 0. Do you know how many times I will hear them in my life from him? Also 0. Is there something less than 0? 0. 0. So why do we do this? Because the people we try to help that don't want it, they reveal that as their truth almost immediately. It's like, shut the fuck up. Like, they're not sugarcoating it. They don't want to be helped. Or they just completely ignore you, or they dump you. Or they're like, so I'm just supposed to like work out all the time like you do to fix my anxiety? I'll have wine, thanks. The writing is on the wall, as it is with almost every scenario in our life, whether it's a fuckboy or a frenemy or a boss or whatever. The writing is on the wall. It always comes down to, do we have the guts to read it? Nope. And I think because of this choose kindness culture, we are not incentivized to read the writing on the wall when it comes to a broken person that we are trying to fix or help, right? We as women, we're not abandoners. We're nurturers. We're lovers. We're patient and we're faithful and we stick around, okay? Even when you're not asked to. Especially when I'm not asked to, because that's what love is. Why have we told ourselves that that's the case? Why have we defined friendship, loyalty, love as the complete annihilation of ourself, the importation of so much resentment from this person, from the broken person? And we're just like, it's okay. I don't care. Something has happened to me in the last 6 months. I have just gotten so incredibly mean. I've actually gotten really healthy, both physically healthy. I mean, I've been on my like healthy journey and, you know, I work out a ton, but just healthy with therapy and mindset and, you know, my feminine energy shifting into a more receiving place, more light feminine. And that has made me actually much more cutthroat. I'm actually going to do a video for you guys about me stepping into my like soft girl era and why we're afraid to do that. Why we have to be like the bad bitch, the dark feminine, because we're afraid, what we're afraid of, and how to fix that, how to heal that wound, because I've done it. I've been doing it. And it's really kind of flourishing now. You know, I was like in my little winter. Anyway, I will say being in that light feminine, it's an energy of receiving. It's an energy of receiving. And so I look at these people, these addicts, these broken people, these victims, martyrs, takers, and I'm like, what am I receiving from you? Vitriol? Insults? Gaslighting? The only thing you seem to be interested in this dynamic is my compliance. And guess what? I'm actually not interested in a relationship of any kind that is based on compliance. You know who that's a relationship with? The cops, the IRS, your boss. Do you purposely seek out those dynamics? My favorite is when I get pulled over. I love it because I'm suddenly terrified of everything I might have in the cabin of my car, even if it's nothing. If it's a half-eaten Crunchwrap Supreme, I'm like, is it drugs? I don't know. I just get so paranoid. I love this feeling. I just love feeling like I have no agency or say so. And the only thing I can do is just like comply. Have you ever heard anyone say that or even imply that? It's insane. It's an insane person's point of view. And yet, if we template our dynamics, I'm just picturing that Crunchwrap Supreme. Who would only eat half? Everybody eats the whole thing. Like when we template out these dynamics with these broken people, that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. You are here as long as you are willing to fall in line with their brokenness. See them as the martyr. Enable their addiction. Never say anything bad about their behavior that's leading to endless outcomes that they don't like, allegedly. I don't know why I keep getting dumped. Well, because you do anal on the first date, the first night you meet them. That's why. That's why. Shut up! I'm independent. I'm not interested in compliance-based relationships. Sorry. How can you get to this point where you're like, you know what? You have to learn to be okay being the villain. If your goal is to move through this life never being the villain in someone's story, you are going to move through this life spinelessly. Spinelessly. Winston Churchill has a quote I love. You have enemies? Good. It means you stood up for something for once in your goddamn life. I love that. Good. You should have enemies. You should have many. There should be several people out there who don't like the way you move. Good. That means you have your own heart, your own spine, your own opinions. There are a lot of people who don't like me. A lot. And you know, getting canceled a few years ago, it made me kind of bulletproof, because when you go through the worst possible scenario of people not liking you on like a literal global scale, trending number 3 on Twitter, you're like, there's nothing left to lose. I'm the villain. I'm the bad guy. Guess what? God's still on the throne. The sun came up the next day. I'm still thriving. My tits are still perky. Die mad about it. Let's say you don't get canceled. I hope you never do. I want you to make an enemy. It can be a micro enemy, you know, just someone at work whose bullshit you're not putting up with anymore. Let me tell you who one of my enemies is. One of my neighbors. And I use the term enemy extremely broadly, okay? I look at it just as someone who is not my friend necessarily. You'll see what I mean. I'm not friends with my neighbors because they're dorks. They're dorks. I don't like them. They're weird. When I moved in here, I live in a nice neighborhood, and they're like, when did you guys move in? And I'm like, oh, we just moved in like a day, or whatever the conversation was. But I was using the word we. I meant me and the dog. And she's like, oh, like, what does your husband do? And I said, oh, I'm not married. And I even said, I was like, oh, I meant we as in like me and the dog. And she's like, you don't have a husband? What fucking year is this? I was like, no, I don't. She's like, and you live here? I was like, yeah, I do. And from then on, I'm like, nope. If their house is on fire, I'm going to tell them. You know, they're not like my enemy, but these people don't like me, and I don't like them right back. And it was tough. That was tough, because I moved into this beautiful neighborhood, and I thought, oh my God, like, I'm going to have these like neighbor friends and like cookouts and like just cruising by like, hey, bestie, it's 1 o'clock, like one of those. And I realized like, no, I'm not. And you know, to mourn that dream, and to mourn the idea of me that I wanted to sell these people, hey, I'm fun, like come over, have some wine, whatever. It was a grief. It was a loss, and it was something to mourn, because I don't want to think of myself as the weird neighbor who doesn't get along with anyone. It's just like, hi, like I wave and I keep living my life. But once I did inhabit that absolute worst case scenario, oh well. And people are like, no, you should try to make friends with your neighbors. You need your neighbors. I don't need that one. I mean, knock on wood. They ain't over yet, but like, I don't need them. I don't need them. You know, I've lived my entire life without those two people. I think I'll live the rest of it without them just fine, you know? And if not, egg on my face, okay? Egg on my face. But to get okay with being hated and having enemies, I've done these quotes a million times this video, I'm sorry. But when I say hated, they don't hate me. We just don't vibe. We're not friends. They're not my enemy. We ain't like that. But sometimes that's enough. When we are hardwired to choose kindness and be that people pleaser and be the great friend and the amazing neighbor and the daughter and the sister-in-law, the reliable person, to have someone who's like, we're like, they might as well be lobbing grenades at us. It feels the same. It feels the same. It feels like, oh my God, this is it. This is my own personal doomsday. This is what I have been trained not to do since I was like 4. Give weird Uncle Marty a hug. Give him a hug. Say thank you. Do the dance. Show your grandmother the dance. We're taught to please. We're taught to perform. And part of that performance, as we get older and our lives are more nuanced, is the savior. So I encourage you to have micro enemies and be a micro disappointment. Don't chat up the barista who wants to sit and monologue for 10 minutes while she's making your coffee that should actually only take 30 seconds. Just be the gray rock, like, just wander away. Try it. Start really small. Start really small. You don't need to start with your dad. You don't need to start with your mom who is determined to be miserable, or your best friend who is never going to meet someone because she is a disaster. You don't need to start there. Start small. Start with your things that you don't think are going to matter. They might. Like maybe that interaction with that barista sets your day in a bad vibe. And like, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore. They can hate me. They can hate me. Oh, well. I have a lot of service people like in my life, like people who fix, people who clean. And here's the nail lady. The nail ladies. When they try to talk to me, I'm like, I'm so sorry. I have to listen to this thing for work. What am I talking about? I'm literally just listening to podcasts that I like or Dua Lipa's new album. But I'm not doing this. I'm not having a 45-minute interaction with my nails there where I can't escape. And I'm like, I hate every moment of trying to have this conversation. I can't do this. And this doesn't even count as like the savior thing, right? It seems like we're a little in the weeds of this whole savior concept, but what it actually comes down to is boundaries. And that this is not filling my cup. This is tipping my cup over to fill yours. You want to have this dumb conversation. You want to like grill me and I'm your neighbor. You want to do this. What am I getting out of this? Nothing. And it's not even a net zero. If it was just neutral, all right, if you pull back and when you start walling yourself off from these unwanted interactions and be the micro enemy, you will find that they weren't neutral at all. They were, like I said, setting your day in a bad vibe. They were actually corrosive. Little tiny things that you're like, ugh, I hate getting stuck talking to this chick every time I go to Pilates. Find a new studio. Say, hey, I'm sorry. I just really need to like kind of zen. I don't love to talk when I work out. Thanks. So yeah, no, don't find a new studio. I take that completely back. Don't do that. But there's another reason why we're the savior beyond just our conditioning, because I think every woman is hardwired a little bit to be the savior, and I'm kind of mean, so I think I can escape it more than most. But I say that, and it's like, look what I do for a living. I actually know these people who want me to save them, they know exactly what buttons to press because I put those buttons on the internet. So never mind. What lies beyond for people who really find themselves drawn into these relentless codependent relationships? And remember, one of the definitions of codependency is I care more about your problems than you care about your problems. No wonder we talk about Justin and Haley when we talk about this kind of stuff. And no wonder I always bring up Tom when I talk about Justin and Haley, because I care more about his sobriety, his life, and his future than he does. And one time I said, I understand why you don't care if you live or die. You have so many other people caring for you. You don't need to carry that. You don't need to carry the burden of your future and caring about yourself. We're all doing this work for you. And what do we get for it? We're all the bad guy. We're putting pressure on you. We don't understand. We're shaming you. That's because you have made us the board of directors here. You have made us part of this enterprise. I don't fucking work here. And here I am showing up for a shift. So yeah, I have a vested interest in the outcome of this company, the Tom Enterprise, the Tom Corporation, because you have forced me to. Hold on though. Hold on though. That right there just got to my second point. Why we feel compelled to be the savior. Because then what do we get to feel like? What? Shalyn, I don't save people to feel like a victim. Maybe not, and we'll talk about you next, okay? But for now, we're going to talk about this particular species of saviors, okay? Why would we ever want to feel like a martyr? Ugh. They're the worst. They're the worst. And yet, here we are, drawn into that role when we are inappropriately invested in the outcome of some other person's life. And listen, you can say, it's not an inappropriate investment. That's my sister. That's my boyfriend. That's my husband. I get that. I'm not saying that your concern for them is inappropriate. Your action with somebody who does not see the value in your actions is inappropriate. The way it would be inappropriate for you to show up clocking into a job and work a shift that you're not hired at. You don't work there. That's inappropriate and weird. And yet when it comes to people, we're like, but I care about them. Okay, you might care about Burger King. You might never want that Burger King to go out of business. You're not showing up to work there. That they got to figure out their business strategy on their own. On their own. So if you chronically do this, and I don't mean, hey, my sister's going through a hard time, I need to pull up and help her. I mean chronically, that you're always the one who's doing this. It's like you are the cleanup crew. You constantly date addicts. You know, you gravitate towards siblings who you always have an issue going on there. Like if this is coming up over and over and over again in your life where you feel like it's your responsibility to fix somebody or shoot them straight, that's how I am, or whatever, or help them find love or help them do that. If only they could see, why do you do that? Well, part of it's the martyr complex. How? Why? Why would you ever want to be a martyr? What a martyr projects is a feeling of powerlessness and a lack of control and a lack of choices, really, is what it is. I'll do it since nobody else is going to help me. I have no choice but to do these dishes at 4:30 in the morning because if I don't, they won't get done, right? And that means I have no other option. The way we clip that martyrdom is by taking action in our life. I am taking action. I'm trying to get this guy sober. What was the key word in that sentence? Taking action in your own life. Was it your own life? Your own life, your life, your life. Sweet baby girl, at the end of the day, you're only in charge of yourself. And I know this is like our life's work to like learn this lesson, the lesson of radical acceptance. And if you're in the Shlantrage, you've heard me talk about this. I've talked about the concept of radical, unconditional love in the way I understand and will accept it, and acceptance. This is who they are. They might never stop doing anal on the first date in an Applebee's parking lot. She might never. He might never get sober. My mom might never stop going back to my dad. Can I accept this? The way you learn to accept that is by focusing on yourself. By focusing on yourself. Pour into yourself and not to these other people. Because what you're seeking is control. You genuinely, you're like, I'm not trying to fix my drunk boyfriend because I want to be a martyr. I want to fix my drunk boyfriend. I want him to be sober. I love him. He's got amazing potential. Okay. The need for control over him and the outcomes of his life are the exact same control issues that you find from being a martyr. It's the same thing. It's all fruit of the poison tree, okay? And the way we can combat that is, again, by reinvestment into ourselves. You don't need to go over to his house to clean up and tidy up because he's been on a bender for 3 days. Go to the fucking gym, girl. Go to Barnes & Noble. Sign up for Exo Style Box. DM my strategist Wilda, okay? Do something for yourself. Radical selfishness. Be in control. Meal prep, like little things. Be in control of what you eat, not in like a weird Rexy way. Be in control of what you watch. Be in control. Make decisive changes in your life, because you know what? 9 times out of 10, when I've gotten drawn into being a savior, it's because something in my life was wildly out of control. And wildly is a relative term. My wildly out of control is someone else's absolutely like in control. But like when I was really down bad with Tom, trying to save him, guess what? I was fat and I was drinking too much, okay? Because, I mean, I don't know why. These two concepts weren't linked. Like, I can't blame Tom for me weighing 168 pounds at 5'4". I can't blame him for that. But it was an excuse to not really look at the thing I needed to look at, to focus on him. And I think you'll find that with saviors. When you are the most susceptible to fixing and saving and healing and controlling and then being a martyr and feeling that victim, it's because there's something going on in your life you are not paying attention to, that you don't actually want to address. Why fix my life when I could fix his? Because the concept of fixing my own life, whoa, that comes with a lot of cost. Let's use being thin, for example. Like, okay, I could fix Tom and he will be sober and he will love me and we'll be happily ever after. How hard can that be? I don't know. I've never done it before. Let's try it. Fixing myself? Oh, fuck. Because I would rather try to convince Tom than try to constantly convince myself to go to the gym, to eat right, to get on Ozempic, whatever it is. That seems a lot harder and suckier. Doing that emotional and mental work, no. I'm gonna fix something else. Like, do you ever, when you were in college or like even now, if you have like a big project or a presentation or something like that you have to do, has your sock drawer ever been more of a compelling task? Like whenever I have had like a gym class I didn't want to go to or an appointment or a call, better organize these socks. Like I can't go one more day without the socks being organized color-wise. Right? Don't you find that? You know, when you have this big thing you need to do, it's like, today's the day I completely clean out my old tax forms. Like, why? This is why though. This is why. Because we don't want to deal with it. But I will tell you, whether it's socks or your tax cabinet or whatever. But I'll tell you, as someone who has tried both, tried to save all these people who crossed my path in the macro and the micro ways, it honestly is easier to just fix yourself. Because you see such a return on investment. It is, let's go back to this working metaphor. I've worked in, corporate America. I was a magazine editor. And I've written 2 books, I've written, blogs and TV scripts and all of this stuff. And my point is, all of those things had a boss. They had oversight, they had an editor. And I loved doing those things, but I would burn out and I would get tired of it and I would get resentful and I'd bitch about my boss. Now what I do, this is the best job I've ever had, but it is the hardest. Why is it the best even though it's the hardest? Because it all comes back to me. I get to make all the money. I get to make all the decisions. And it was within like 4 days of doing this full time that I was like, holy shit, I am so much happier doing this than I was being the editor of Star. Like, this is crazy. I get to make all the choices and all of the glory comes back on me. I don't have to like defer to my boss. Like, wow. And I think being in this career and working for myself has enabled me to focus more on my own issues and be less of a savior sometimes, because I mean, yes and no. Maybe I was running away from responsibilities in my life and focusing on Tom. That's a whole other thing, but you get what I'm saying. When we start to reinvest in ourselves, we really see the return on investment so fast. If for no other reason, here's what's going to happen. Because look, your brain is like, hey, did you know we're fat? Like, we're like fat, right? Like, I mean, there's fatter people, but we are fat and we don't want to be fat. Like, you think about, 24 hours a day, how you want to look and the clothes you want to wear and being sexy. And we're not that though. That is called cognitive dissonance, where what is happening does not match up to what you want. And this is an extremely stressful situation for your brain. And so if your brain is like, why are you texting him? Do you know we're fat over here, dude? Stop. When we can listen to the brain and be like, okay, what is it we actually need to address? The fatness. And if you can just listen, to your psyche when she is trying to tell you what you actually need to focus on, she's going to be like, oh, thank you. Dude, thanks. Like, I thought I was going to have to do this the hardest of hard ways, right? She's going to take that weight off your shoulders. And she is going to give life and trajectory and force to the goal of fixing yourself. And she's going to do that by being like, I'm really proud of you. Don't you feel good? I do feel good. She's going to give that to you through motivation, tenacity, grit, a whole different sphere of options that you're going to be willing to look at. She's going to do that for you by suggesting some boundaries. Hey, tell your friends you're not having queso tonight because you're on your health journey. And it's okay if they're the enemy. You know, it's okay if they're mad at you. You are aligned and you are speaking from your truth and your alignment. And so kind of fuck what anyone else has to say. We are in the zone right now. This is amazing. And every win is going to be your win. It's going to be your win. And you might be saying, I get it, and that's nice, but this is the person I'm trying to save. This is a life and death situation. I know. Like, I have been in those. I've been in those, like, recently. And all you can do is all you can do. I mean, I was in this scenario once with a guy. I was like trying to cook for him and he was really sick and he almost lost it. He did lose it. He was livid. But he was like so sick he could have died. And he didn't like it because it was making him feel weak. And I'm like, I didn't want you to die trying to feed yourself. Like, okay, like the stakes were high. The stakes were high here. Because I get it. It's like, okay, what if I pull back and something really awful happens? Stopping yourself from living doesn't always stop other people from dying. And this whole video, I have tried to underscore a million times that these are people who don't want your help, who do not appreciate it. They don't see the value in it. And it's like, all you can do is all you can do. And this is, I mean, I don't have a tidy answer for you. I think you need to either get incredibly clear about your boundaries, like write them down. Be like, I will do this, this, and this, not doing this, this, and this. I'll bring you a lasagna. I will come pick you up from rehab or your alcohol classes. I will not be your call when you're in jail. I will not defend you in a bar fight that you fucking started. Like, you know, have your boundaries and maybe communicate that to these people. Listen, if you want to still do anal on the first date, I will go out with you. I will still be your friend. I'm not hearing about your dates anymore. I don't know. You're going to have to figure out what works for you, because I know with Tom for a long time, that was the chokehold that it had over me. Like, what if the last thing I say to him is hateful? And what if I wasn't there when he needed me and he went off the deep end and that's it? Because that does happen, and that is the demon that is always whispering in your ear. If you're not out for the martyrdom and you're like, no, this is potentially life and death, I get it. I have been there. I've been in both places. And at one moment I was the martyr, the other time it was a legit real life and death situation. I mean, this sounds simple, but like, it is in God's hands in some ways. If that's something that is resonant with you, give it to God. And if it's not, decide what you're going to do. And then at some point, people really do just have to live their own lives. You know, and that's the point I got to with Tom. It's like, if he wants to overdose and if this is how he wants to go out, because I bought this man Narcan, like the shot when you OD on an opioid. Yeah. Yes. That was a non-humiliating trip to the pharmacist. They're like, why do you need this? And I'm like, it's not for me. Okay. I don't know, like people are going to do whatever they're going to do. And I know it feels tragic because it is, girl, it is. And you don't have to tell yourself that it's not. You don't. But you can't sacrifice your life for theirs when they're not even trying to hear it. And I've said to Tom, I've said to my other friends, like, if you decide to walk that path of getting healthy and getting sober and working out, bitch, I'll be there every step of the way. As we'll figure out a good balance. Like, I will pull up for you. Heck yeah, I'll drive you to those alcohol classes. We'll go to the gym. We'll cook pasta on a Sunday night, sober and be boring. I am here for you. But until you get on that path, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. And I do think sometimes that will move the needle with people, you know, when it's like the girl who's always been there is like, I'm not here. And it's a risk, and it's the most awful feeling to walk away from someone that you feel is vulnerable or you don't know what's going to happen. I know. But I mean, from a strategy standpoint, a lot of times that does kind of work. It kind of does. And if it doesn't, then listen, no matter what you did, it wasn't going to work. People have to learn things on their own time. And is this parenthood? Oh my God. This is, isn't it? This is parenthood. We're just like, please don't do this thing I know you're going to do. Please, I can tell you how it turns out. And you just have to sit there and let them learn it. And that kind of says it all. The fact that dealing with people like this can feel like parenthood. Unless you are talking about your actual child. And even then, you got to step away if that's your actual child. At some point, they do have to live their own life and make their own choices. Very few people learn from the mistakes of others. Almost everyone has to learn from their own. But if it's not your child, do you want a parent-child dynamic with this boyfriend, this best friend, this sister, this actual parent? Do you want to be parenting them? What are we getting out of it? There's a lot. These are deep, thorny issues. And like I said, they go back to our conditioning as women, our conditioning as good daughters, a lot of religious conditioning, or if you're the daughter of an immigrant, this is a huge thing. It's like, of course, you have to be there for everyone all the time. Like that's its whole separate issue. It goes to our need for control, our incredible avoidance of our own like psyche trying to speak to us. There's a lot. And we were like, bleh, we don't want to look at this. We just want to kind of keep going down this path of like the savior complex, because we get a lot of like, holy, what a good girl she is. She's just faithful. Every country song is that woman stood by me, stand by your man, ring of fire, whatever. But at some point, we're allowed to step back and say, I just don't know. I don't know if this is working, and I don't even know if you want it to work. What do you guys have to say about this? Let me know. Like I said, join XO Style Box. Get some fun new spring fashion. This is a great, really cute slip dress. It's kind of bunched up because I got big hips. But it's really fun and flirty. And there's tons of stuff. There's good work stuff, knits, jackets, pants, jeans, dresses, corset tops, ball gowns, and everything in between. I was sure to make something that you guys would love, and it's a little something for everybody. Okay, I will see you next time. I'll see you later, Shalom.